Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristin Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Hey, Strong Roots, we are on our last episode of our Parenthood season. I'm here with Pastor John, and today we are talking about technology. And I think this is so important for raising kids right now. And Pastor John, practically speaking, what are some technology boundaries that you have in our home?
Well, in our home, we have a lot of boundaries. A lot of boundaries. We don't have TV. I guess we have had some people who have shared passwords with us, but we really don't use the Netflix or anything. Our kids, if we have a life group at our house, which happens from time to time, I'd say on average get about 30 minutes of screen time every other week. Mm-hmm. That's about it. And screen time, I think, is a big break for parents, but once you get through the initial, our kids are able to entertain themselves, play by themselves quietly, play with each other. They have a huge imagination that I see a lot of families not get to have, and it's amazing because, our kids have that. And, teachers always comment, long attention spans, wow, all this stuff. And you know what it is? We don't have screen times. Right. And that's something we're training and preparing as a parent, So those are the boundaries we have on kids right now at home.
How about in your personal life?
Yeah, my phone's locked down. I can't install things. I can't do things on my phone. Can't access a lot of websites because of I don't want to look at porn. So that's a huge boundary for us personally, and I think we recognize with our kids what a deal it is. I think I said in another podcast this season, the average age of exposure to pornography is 10 in America right now, or 11, and for boys it's 8. And that's just remarkable. If a boy spends 10 minutes looking at online pornography, it's likely he'll see 100 couples and individuals doing sexual things that are unspeakable. Men and men, women and women, men and women, and people and animals. It's just crazy the stuff that comes in. And
right.
I talk to these kids that have been traumatized. I'll ask them. They'll say, hey, I don't think I'm a boy, I'm a girl. And I'll say, when did you start looking at porn? And they'll say, when I was 6. And I'll say, how often did you do it? And they'll say, every day since I was 6.
Right.
And the parents will be totally clueless. Oh, no, my kid doesn't do that, whatever. It's dude, your kid's traumatized. If a kid has been watching thousands of people have sex in front of their eyes since they were 6, 8, 10 years old, they're traumatized.
Right.
That's a sexually traumatized kid. And it's we put technology in our kids' hands, and we're yeah, it's a nice break for me. It's I put a guy who's a registered sex offender around my kids. And it's a nice break for me.
Right.
And it's what? What? That doesn't, you would never do that. You would never do that. But to me, every screen is worse.
Right.
Far worse, far more likely to commit a crime than a registered sex offender. And the fact that our society, and specifically, the far left of our society advocates what I think for is the sexual exploitation of our kids, And before Jesus, pedophilia was common. Jesus is the one who made it not okay. And as Jesus recedes from society, it's, people are advocating for it again. And I think as a Christian, as a father, it is my job to protect our family from this. And your job to protect our kids. And of all the things we've talked about, this is one where parents need to go mama bear, papa bear, dude, if you had a sexual predator just clawing at your window, you'd be I think I'm going to do something. I think I'm going to do something. But with our kids, we're kids will be, it's a nice break. I want a few minutes to be able to scroll on my phone, so I'll just give my kids a tablet, that from now on, I want you to view tablet, screen time, anything else unsupervised with your kids. In your mind, say, I am putting a registered sex offender in their hands. Mm-hmm. And just because somebody's a registered sex offender doesn't mean that they're going to do something bad every time. But there's a solid chance that that's a proclivity. That's why we have this. The data is real on this, right? The chance of your kid being sexually traumatized by a registered sex offender are far lower than the chance of your kid being traumatized by a screen.
Right.
And the damage to your child's psyche is equally as great.
Right.
So again, for us, and our family, obviously I'm getting a little passionate here.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Absolutely. So how do we model putting Scripture and God above technology in our own home?
Well, for you and me, we just don't do it very much, you know, and that's a big deal. We read our Bibles, we do family devotionals together, we pray together, and we have a beautiful family. You know, it's amazing. We invite a lot of young people into our house, 20-somethings, and they all comment, man, your kids are great. Like, we don't see, we do nannying, we do babysitting, and kids are not like that. And it's like, yeah, it's because we value the Word of God above screens, entertainment, and our own convenience. And that was a tough choice early on, but today, I mean, it's very easy, and it's made our life a ton better, which is really nice. So.
And it's provided opportunities for us to be intentional with our kids and to have more conversations also as well, because it gives you more time. You're giving yourself more time with your kids.
Yeah, and they are blessed. You have a better relationship with them when they're older, when you love them and invest in them when you're younger. You get what you give.
Absolutely. So how do you foster an atmosphere of confession is better than concealment in your home when it comes to maybe things they've seen on technology or anything in general?
Confession's good. I think most parents think that their kid tells them everything, but, there's a great website called Fight the New Drug that talks about how porn works like a drug. It is it's like heroin. Like, you get hooked on it, and the temptation's always there. The recidivism rates are super high. So it's not just that we rely on confession. Like I said, we have boundaries on my phones when my kids are older and they do get devices, which certainly is going to be after they're in 8th grade, probably when they can drive. I'll get that, like a dumb phone,
Right.
But like a light phone, LITE phone. I've got a friend who has one of those, and I think it has navigation. You can text on it. It has a screen, but it can't do basically anything but those basic tasks, which to me is like navigation, texting.
Right.
That's basically what you need. But if you do get your kid a smart device, you have to get Bark on your phone or a program like it. But Bark is the one I know best. But this is what I love about Bark, is if you take the time to hook it up to all the apps, including Google Documents, it can monitor all of them. And it also, for many of the apps, does it retroactively. And, anytime I do a sermon on this at church, I'll have a parent be like, my kid, in front of their kid, my kid would never do it. And I'll say, well, install Bark on their phone. And I look at the kid and I say, it looks retroactively. So if you clean your act up today, it's not good enough, because it's going to look back at everything you've ever said on your phone years ago. I mean, it has ways of doing that. And it's going to bust you. So if you got stuff you need to tell your mom on the way home, you better tell her. And I always see the kids like, panic. And this is what I love about Bark, is it gives you access to everything, including just their basic interactions with their friends and group chats. And parents will tell me, like, John, I had no idea how mean my kid was or how mean their friend group was. And, the conversations we've been able to have about hurt and about pain in their life have been so valuable to training our kid in the way they should go. So part of fostering a culture of openness is forcing your way into their life. And again, like, some of you are like, I don't want to invade my kids' privacy. Dude, they're 10. You know what I mean? Like, they're not old enough to steward privacy yet. They're yours to train. Like, they're not an adult. They might look and act and talk like an adult, but they're 10. They're 12, they're 15, they're 16. They have a gas pedal in their mind biologically, but they have no brake pedal. Like, that's the way it works when you're 16. You don't have inhibitions. You can see all the things. You go for the things. You have no impulse control.
And something that you said that really resonated with me is, if you allow your child to have a cell phone alone in their room, it's like you allowing them to be alone in their room with a boyfriend or girlfriend with the door closed. Like, I thought that's so wise.
Crazy. The thought, and I know, look, I don't mean to call you crazy, because I know some of you watching do this. Do not let your kid have a device alone.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple. Like, maybe if you let them have it, go to school, hopefully it's locked. Don't let your kid have a device that's not locked down, certainly before the age of 16, that doesn't at least have some supervision on it. But, when you give them their devices, make sure that it's in public.
Right.
Like, they're in public with it. And then set healthy boundaries about screen time. You get 30 minutes of social media, and then we shut that down. The Apple screen time apps are super great. You can put parental codes on them. Take the time to do it. And, like, if you haven't set boundaries before, they're going to act like you're killing them and whine and scream and whatever else. But what's amazing is, on all the youth trips I've ever led, and even the ones today, John Graham will say this, you take away the kids' phones at the start, and they whine and, it's so hard and whatever. By the end of the trip, they don't want them back.
Wow.
They're happier without them. When you ground your kid from a phone, typically most parents will say, yeah, their kid's happier. Right. And the kid will even know it. They're happier without it. They want it back because it's an old drug. Right. But heroin addicts are happier without heroin. Right? They are.
Right.
And so anyway, it's just a big deal. And here's the thing. I am not just protecting my kid when they get older. I'm preparing them to choose protection. I'm preparing them to choose wisdom when they're older. And that's just a big challenge that you need to do as parents. You're training them to make the wise decisions. You're including them in the wisdom behind why you're making the choices. Why are you setting these boundaries? What is the data? You know, when I tell my kid, hey, here's why this is really important, because I don't want you to get sexually abused. This is why I'm doing this. This is why we're setting these boundaries. You know, I don't want you to get traumatized in these ways. Let's look at the data together and have a conversation about this. Oh, holy cow. You know, let's look at the data behind depression and cell phone usage. Oh, okay, this makes sense. Do you like being unhappy? No. Do you like this state of your mind? Do you like self-harming? Do you like doing these things? Let's pull the device from your life somewhat, or at least regulate your usage of the device in your life that's bringing about all this unhappiness. Parents, this is such an important battle to fight. And like so many things, so many of us as parents are like, I just don't want to.
Right.
You know, do it.
Right. Last question, super fast. How do we, because technology is not all evil.
Right.
How do we teach our kids that it's a great tool to have, but it's not the boss of us? It's not what we follow. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, technology is a great tool. How can we teach them it's a tool to advance the gospel? It's a tool to create relationships.
Technology, I think, is just it's like a big amplifier of your character. And so, like, you want to use technology to amplify the best parts of your character, your love for the Lord. You know, I mean, we use our phones, obviously, with great effect to do ministry, to reach out to people, to care for people, to foster healthy, godly relationships. But, like, the ungodly parts of our character that we haven't refined yet, if we allow a technology device into that space, like, it's going to amplify that sin and make it a squillion times worse. It's just a big stimulant.
Right.
You know, and I think realizing that for us as adults, but also for our children, like, if you have a child that has a ton of character defects, giving them a big amplifier without managing those character defects, well, it ain't going to be good.
Absolutely.
So.
All right. Well, what do you want to leave them with? This is the last one.
Parents, mama bear, papa bear, get out there and fight for your kids. Protect them and prepare them. You have what it takes. They're worth it. What would you do to protect your kid from a predator? A lot. And I know you have what it takes. And you might say, well, I've already messed up. It ain't too late. It ain't too late.
Absolutely.
You have what it takes. You can talk to us. Reach out. We'd love to help you with this. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.